All right. Okay. Welcome to a very rare Thursday night Perry here on twitch.tv/Perry Von Vicious. Um, I have some 3D work to do, and I thought I would hop on here and do it live because I'm gonna want footage of it for later on when I'm making a YouTube video about how I did this. A number of the fans that I've come across, and a number of people who tune into these live streams often, have gifted me a lot of cool toys, and specifically, I've gotten a bunch of these guys. These are Monster Jam minis. They're pretty small. I think I have a regular size. Yeah, here we go. When compared to a regular size, covered with cat hair, when compared with a regular size Monster Jam vehicle, considerably smaller. Interestingly, they are basically the same size as the old. Hey, robotic! They are basically the same size as the old Micro Machines from back in the 90s. The Micro Machines Tuff Trax. This is a Buffalo Tremor 2. I actually used this truck the other day on BeamNG playing the retro trucks. But I've been meaning to get on here and design a little display for the pile of these that I've accrued from various fans. And I was sort of doodling up a little sketch of what I'm planning and came up with some cool ideas on how I could make this pretty unique. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm in TinkerCAD here, and I'm gonna create new 3D design, and we are gonna get rolling on this. I wish I'd. This was all sort of a very like sudden idea to go live and do this. So I've got a lot of things that are not in the right place. So you're going to see me occasionally shuffling stuff at random here. I've got to stretch my keyboard over where I can reach it. I got to bring my mouse where I can reach it. All things I should have thought about before I got started here, but again, very spur of the moment. All right, I think we're good to go. I do have an abundance of toys all over my desk right now as I've been doing a lot of design work, and I need certain pieces for reference and certain pieces to show on camera. But all right. So in designing the shelf for these, I have a pretty simple idea, and it's essentially a box with dividers that are going to slide in. And usually I would just do this all as one piece. Sure thing here, Robotic. Uh, Usually I would do all these as one piece. Um, but I have some cool ideas on how to kind of customize this for these toys and make it a little bit cooler. So I'm going to start off simple enough. I'm going to go ahead and bring a cube into the field here. I'm going to switch to the boring view. Come up on the top, and I have a bunch of numbers here that I wrote out earlier. So I have some limitations that I'm working with. The first, and it's an important one, is the size of my build area on my 3D printer. I can't go any bigger than it because I want this all to print as one piece. So I'm going, you can see there it fills roughly the entire panel that comes on this, and it's 190 millimeters by 190 millimeters. Um, and that's sort of the frame of what we're looking at. So I know that I need this entire thing to be 51 millimeters deep going back to the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and, okay. So now I need to make a cube that's going to go inside that and hollow this whole thing out. So I'm going to bring another cube out here. And I know that I want the sidewalls on this to be 5 millimeters. That's a nice thick size that the printer can print reliably. And, it's a little bit chunky, but good for what we're doing here. So I need to, we're subtracting 5 off each side and 5 off the top. So that's 10 off one side, 10 off the other. Makes it 180 by 180. So I'm going to go ahead and 180 by 180. And I want that back wall to also be 5 millimeters. So go ahead and raise this up till it tells me I've gone up 5 millimeters. Go to our top view here. We're just going to center this as best we can. I think the best way to do it is to line it up on one corner. And right now it's moving at 1 millimeter increments. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is now centered. And I need it to be tall enough to come all the way up out the top so that it is now hollow. And I am going to go ahead and well, you know what? We're going to round the edges on this just a little bit. I don't like the sharp corners right on the edges. So I'm just ever so slight. See, like that's way too much. That's about what I want. Something just really minor like that, because I want everything to still be thick and flat. And that's looking pretty good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and group that. So now we have sort of the basic box of what's going to become our shelf here. And this is where things are going to start to get a little bit interesting, because I need to put in some slots and some other various shapes so that shelves can go in here. It's going to get particularly fun when we get to designing the actual shelves. So the first thing I want to do, I want a little slot along one side. We're going to call this the top and this the bottom. And I need a little slot running back here because I want to be able to slide in a background. I want to be able to print a little background so it's not just a plain black shelf. I'm going to print this in black filament. I don't want it to just be a plain black background. I want to be able to print something cool like, like fake crowds or fake arena or something for each shelf. So to do that, remember this was 180 from top to bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in another cube. And we're once again going to go 180. I needed it to be the other way, but that's fine. I'm going to pop this over 90 degrees. And then as far as the height, this height doesn't have to be that tall because I'm planning to print the little backdrop I'm going to slide in on like cardboard or something, so it's not going to be too thick. So I really do think, because I'm going to use like a cardstock, I think maybe 3 millimeters is plenty. So we're going to call this 3. Now we're going to go to that top view again. Bring this over. I'm going to line it up with those. That's looking pretty good. But I still want to leave that back plane, so we're going to bring this up 5 millimeters. Okay, that's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and group that. And that's our little slot that's going to let us put in what we need to put in there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cheat the system a little bit. I'm going to come back here, go to the top, select just that piece. We're going to bring it all the way over to our edge there. And the reason for that's going to become more clear as we go on. Actually, I think I need it to be even more dead on than that. That's where I need it, right there. And the reason for that is going to become clear later on. Hey, Graves made it. It's a sparse audience tonight because I did this very spur of the moment. All right, and then is that lined up evenly? Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, cool. All right, so that's where we want those pieces just for now. So looking at my drawing now, what I need to do, I need to add in some slots that are going to, I feel like this stream was made for me. It may very well be. This may be exactly your kind of jam. So now I actually need a slot along the front edge here and through the top because I'm going to be taking essentially what's plastic packaging for in my case it came for the saw blade for my table saw, but it's a nice stiff perfectly clear plastic that otherwise I would throw in the trash, but I can cut it to make a little window to go on the front of this. So that's how I'm doing my display. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this piece because it's already kind of perfect. Hit Control D. And now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to raise it on up just so that I can see what we're working with. I may even make it less thick because right now, I guess 3 millimeters is probably pretty good. Zoom way in here. We're going to get to about there. And I want it to go back 1, 2, let's call it 3 millimeters down, I think is probably good. All right. And we are going to center it here. Get that top view going. That's what we wanted. All right. And it's going to have to be shorter. So I'm going to change my settings to moving by 0.5 millimeters because I don't need it to go that deep into the side wall here. So we're going to say about there, and then somewhere like right there. Because right now what I'm making is I'm making a channel that a piece can slide into. Well, let's get a look. How's that? Yeah, we want it to go all the way down. So we're even going to extend the bottom just a little bit here. We just want it to come just into there. Let's get the above view. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right. And I'm going to group that piece. I think that's fine. You know what? Yeah, we'll just group the top piece. All right. So just like that, we've got this channel that I can slide a little window into, and it'll fit inside there all the way around. All right. So now what I need to do, there we go, getting vertigo looking at my own design. All right. So now I have this design for these little channels that the shelves are going to sit in because the shelves are going to be their own pieces. Um, so for those, what I need is I have a few different shapes I can choose from here. They're all tough calls, I think. Hmm. Let me make sure I get all my numbers correct here. All right. Yeah, we're going to go with a simple wedge. We're going to turn it 90 degrees. Actually, you know what? We're going to leave it upright. We're going to make a duplicate of it. Flip it horizontally. I'm going to change my settings to move them by 1 millimeter increments. Oh, that's 0.1. Okay, that's what's happening there. So try that again. Command D, we're going to flip it horizontal. Change this to 1 millimeter increments. And I'll wait till they're even with each other. Call that about even. And then I want these to have a 4 millimeter gap between them. Okay, that's good. And then I want these also to be 4 millimeters tall. Okay, so that's good like that. And now this part is more or less by feel. Um, what did that end up being? 7.5? Let's call it 7. In fact, you know what? I'm going to make these 5 tall for a very specific nerdy reason that will become clear very soon. I go with what did I go with here? Was it 7? Yeah, 7. Good. All right. So now these I'm going to flip 90 degrees, and they're going to need to go inside our design here, because they're going to be what holds the shelf in place. So let's get a top view, scoot it over. These are moving by 1 millimeter increments. I just want them to sink down into that wall. Let's see if we can zoom in and see what's happening there. See it right there? We've just sunk into the wall. That's exactly what I want. All right. And now we have to make sure that this is at the right height, because each shelf needs a specific amount of space. And I have that number here, and it looks like that number is going to be 54 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this all the way back till it's at 0. And that should be 54 millimeters. Let's get a look. So there's going to be one here, one here. I'm not totally sure that that's even, and it should be. Let's go ahead and, you know what, we're going to end up just eyeballing them because it's not going to matter. They're going to be very close. But just for now, just for the heck of it, let's say that I got it right. Okay. Not liking how that's lining up. So we're gonna do it over. It is, of course, altogether possible that my numbers are off on my drawing because I was an English major and not a math major. All right. So by my count, I need 54 millimeters up. Yeah, let's find out. That looks more correct. All right. So Control D. We're going to start from there. That looks like we're about even. Okay, that's what we wanted. Perfect. Good. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all of those. And we want these to run all the way up to just under this little channel that we've created. So I'm going to zoom way in and make sure that we don't go over. That looks really good. All right, perfect. That's what we needed there. Okay, looking good. So now take all 4 of those, Control D that, We're going to flip horizontal. We're going to bring it directly across right up until it just disappears into that wall. Just right there. All right, and now we have our shelf pieces in there. That's looking good. All right, and now we can group with this little under part here, and you'll see why I left it there. So select everything, group, and now these stop just shy of where that little background piece is going to go in. We've got a channel down here where I can slide in a backdrop. We've got the channel at the top where I can slide in our little window pane. So that is the background for this shelf. Now I need to make the two little shelves that go in there, but I'm also not done with this piece because there's one more little bit of customization I want to do with it that could end up being a little tricky, but I'm happy to make it tricky. I'm happy to make things complicated. So for right now, hit top, take this. I'm just going to slide that out of our way because now we're going to work on these shelves. So we're going to drop in our cube, trusty cube, and I have some dimensions here. It's going to be 3 millimeters thick by 178 millimeters wide. By 41 millimeters deep. Okay. Now, before I go on with anything else with that, I want to make sure that that's actually going to fit, and I can do it right here on the model. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that 90 degrees, bring it up. We're going to move it on over, and now we're going to zoom way in and make sure that it's going to fit. Because there's a few different little tricky parts here I don't want to get wrong. Okay, so that's still not through that plastic. And it should be shy on the front here, but let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's where it dips in. So it'll be up here because of the cardboard. We might need to make it actually a little bit thinner now that all is here to be seen. Let's get a closer look. Okay, so that's basically touching the back. Yeah, we're actually going to make this a little bit shorter, which is fine. I'd rather it be a little too short than a little too long, because this is probably going to sit about there. And now if we bring it all the way over and put it into the joint where it's supposed to go, we should see, go to a top view here, that it should have a little bit of leeway on both sides. If it doesn't, I can adjust for that. It should just squeeze in. It's going to be a tight fit, and that's okay with me. Is it that okay with me? That's the question. You know what? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Just going to make it about 2.5 instead of 3. I don't like the 1 millimeter gap. I don't think it's enough. Okay. And then, oh, you know what? I need to check the width on it too. Okay, so that's going to fit nicely in there. We can see that now. All right, and it looks like it's good on both ends as well. There's a gap here, there's a gap here. All right, so that's good for the shelf design. Now, when I was initially designing this, I had this idea that I was going to make these shelves sort of like a crosshatch design so that light could get through. That was my like kind of interesting take on what I would do this time. Instead, what I think I'm gonna do is go a little bit more monster truck specific. And this is where this whole idea gets a little bit nerdier, and I'm pretty excited about it. Um, so I'm going to, we need to rotate this down here. Then I'm going to go ahead and just lower it on back down. Doesn't really matter where. All right. Go to the fancy view here. And now, a long time ago for my toy trucks, I had designed, when I was selling them at shows, little crush car sets, just like this. And I want to reuse this. So I'm going to take all three of these, and I believe I can copy from one to the next, but there we go. That's exactly what I wanted to have happen. I hadn't tested it out before I went on stream, so I couldn't recall. It's been a while since I've copied parts between files. Um, all right. So now what I want to do is take these and resize it so that it fits into this shelf, and it's going to be a built-in part of the shelf, so the trucks will always be parked on little crush cars. This was the idea that I was so excited about that I came up with earlier today and said, you know what, I got to stream right now. So we're gonna just bring it all the way in like that, put it in the middle, and then let's get a look. I don't want these to be like incredibly tall because I want the trucks to have some space, but something like about there is pretty good. So now I'm going to bring it over. We need space for it to slide into its little thing. That looks good to me. And I can select these individually to make copies, but I really don't mind. You know what? We're gonna make them a little bit random, make them all a little bit different from each other. And then we'll make the next shelf also random in its own way. So let's come over here. We're going to go just till they're touching. That's good. Make our movements a little bit better. And I'm going to stick with the same one more time there. I kind of like how that looks. Then we'll take this guy from the end, put him next. Then this guy. Ooh, should I leave little gaps in between them so you can see the wheels and stuff? Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll spread them out a little bit. Something like this. Yeah, that one can be closer together. There can be a little break there. Like I don't want the gaps to be too big because then you get trucks that kind of, get stuck in one spot. There we go. That's pretty good. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a quick little cheat code here. I'm going to copy all three of those, but then flip them around so they're facing the other way. And that's going to be how I get some variation. Just going to make sure they all line up okay. Yeah, we'll put a little gap there. Why not? Take this one, bring him down. We're going to call that where the last one should be. So yeah, we're going to space these all out here. Something like that. Here. Maybe that one's a little bit closer. So we can have a small gap. This is the part where the design that I'm doing gets to be a little bit more artistic. I get to have a little bit of creative license here. And maybe I'll go back in. Yeah, I think I am. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna say like, oh, maybe this guy is like a little crooked. He's got a flat tire on one side or something. And this one goes maybe back the other way a little. Maybe this one it's also back that way. Maybe this one too. Maybe they both kind of tip that way and then this one goes the other way. Don't want to do it to all of them. You want it to be like irregular. I do think the ones on each end I'm going to tilt in just a little bit so that the trucks on the end don't try to roll over into the side of the shelf. Yeah, like that. All right, and that's going to be how our shelves sit. Oh, I'm really psyched with how this worked. And you know what I'm going to do to make the next one different is I'm just going to flip the cars around the other way. I think that's going to be the trick here. Yeah. Yep, I think so. So I'm going to Control D. There's our copy. Okay, so that's just the cars selected. Now I'm going to do a little flip them that way. Flip them that way maybe. It's going to be hard because I'm not going to know which side's the front or the back, but I'll just make sure that they're set up a little different. I think that's probably good enough. But yeah, I think that's going to look pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to group that shelf. That's going to take a minute. I'm not going to group the second shelf though, and you'll see why in just a second here. For right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to boop, boop, put it up. All right, let's try that again. Take that, I'm going to put it up 90 degrees. Bring it all up above the build plate. Makes it a little easier on the eyes. Whoa, hey now. Move that out of the way. Yeah, this is gonna be good. I'm excited for how this comes out. Now the next part is going to be painting because while I could just print all of this black, I think I kind of want to paint the cars. That would mean I'm going to have to paint in here though. Or would it? I could just have a little slide-in piece that sits on the... Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Little piece that sits on the bottom. You guys are watching the brain work in real time here. So, since that's the plan now, go ahead and Control D, slide it down here, go to a front view on our object. I'm going to deselect deselect all the cars, I think. We're going to leave the shelf selected because the shelf I want to come up a little. I want to make it a little bit more shallow. Maybe that's not the way to do it. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just pick all of those, shrink the whole thing a little bit. Let's call it, yeah, bring it down to like something like that. I think that's good. In fact, I kind of want to do that to all of them. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to group these and then alter them. I think that's the way to do it. So select that group, select all of that, and that can group. Select that, and that can group. Those are going to take a second. So while that's going on, while it's chugging along thinking about that, I'm going to lay this shelf back down because we got one more thing to add to it because we need a way to put it on our wall. And for that, get a little piece to measure here so that I have some numbers to work with. We're going to say 11. All right. We're going to put some mounting holes on the back of this. And what's neat is when I mount this with screws, they'll disappear because I'm putting in a little backdrop behind the shelves. So let's go ahead and drop in the whole cylinder here. We're going to make it call it 11 by 11. Let's get a top view and okay, let's focus on that guy. Get this view going on. All right, and we're gonna say that like we want it in the top part here, something like here. Lower a little, make sure it's fully through. Then I'm going to copy that, bring it over to right about there. It doesn't have to be like exactly even because as long as they're level with each other, that's all that really matters. All right, that's good. Then there's a few different ways I can do this next part, but I think I'm going to do it with an oval. So I'm just going to make a copy of that, zoom in on it. I go ahead and make it more narrow, make it more tall. And then I'm just going to center it to about there. That's good. I'm going to make a copy of that, bring it over and drop it in the other one. And so now that gives us our mounting holes where we can put in our screws. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I think that looks good. And again, you won't even be able to see those because there's going to be a little backdrop that goes in here. All right. So we have, right, I want to let that just sit in there because I'm going to paint those cars when this is all said and done. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of color. Something like the colors I want to print them in because what I'm thinking is I kind of want to do these in like a white and do this in like a black. So I don't know if this is making sense just yet. I'm going to call this design done for the sake of my YouTube cuts because this is all going to get put together in a bigger video later. But for now, just to give a quick idea of what this is supposed to be, let's go ahead and bring that up till it's at 0. Do this, get a front view. This one is going to come up just till it sits there. And then put it back and in there. This one below that. We'll put all the way up where it's supposed to go. This one will go up as well. Let's go to our front view. I got to zoom way in to get these little things. In fact, I'm going to make this a slightly lighter shade so that I can see a bit better. That's going to sit right about there. And then change my snapping to, let's make sure that's fitting good. Love it. That's going to go about there. Good. Bottom one fills in nicely. I'm going to slide that back and in. And now you can see exactly what I was designing. This was the idea. When this is done, every shelf will have its little row of crush cars that my toys will sit on, crushing their cars. In the back, through this little slot here, let's just make sure this is all going to fit and not block anything. Oh, it's all got to be shorter. Interesting. This is why you do this stuff. I'm going to be able to slide a backdrop in here. Yeah, wow. Okay. Good to know. We're going to bring these forward just a hair. The bottom one sits underneath that slot, so that shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. Oh no, it doesn't. Wow, wow. Figuring all this out in real time, folks. Okay, now I can select all three of them, and we're going to actually just size them all at the same time. This one can actually be a little bit more. There we go. This one can come just a little. Yeah, now I'm just getting nitpicky. And truth be told, these may need refinement when I print because 3D printers are not always exact. But this is the idea. A little display shelf with built-in crush cars for my monster trucks. And if this seems like kind of strange, why didn't I just make these one piece with this? The simple answer is for printing, the way 3D printers work, the way the layers build up. If I did this, there would need to be a bunch of supports that I end up having to remove. It would be a little bit messy. Instead, those cars are going to print flat. The shelf's going to print flat, and I don't think there's going to need to be any supports on anything, which is really ideal with 3D printers. Anyhow, that is for this stream, because that is how these are going to fit, and I'm very very happy with how these turned out. This was a short stream, a little bit longer than I actually anticipated it being, but still short nonetheless. And I'm going to be able to start printing parts for this like tonight and possibly tomorrow. And this week during my stream, I may be painting the little crush cars that go in here. I may also throw up another stream when I go to design the backdrop that I want in here. I may just include that in the final YouTube video when it all gets kind of spliced together. But anyhow, thank you folks for hanging out and checking out this live stream. There will be a longer video on the actual build process showing how these print out and everything. But for now, I'm gonna bounce because I got to get in my workout for the night. So I will talk to you all soon. If you're at either, what are the two shows I'm at this weekend? If you're at Limitless Wrestling on Sunday, and if you're at Rebel Spirit Pro on Saturday, I'll be hanging out at those shows with Johnny Torres and Troy Nelson. So I'll possibly see you there. Otherwise, I'll be back streaming on Monday. Catch y'all later.